What's the deal with
MIDI guitars? So I'm about to say something I never really thought I would hear myself say, but recently I've been using MIDI guitars to program the different riffs that I'm putting in some of my metal productions here in my home studio. As someone who's been playing guitar for over 10 years now, I never really thought that I would be in a position where I would even consider programming guitar riffs rather than just writing whatever I have in my head here. Recently I have opted for Axure Guitar Midi processor over any of the guitars I have hanging on my wall, just because of some limitations I have ran into within the past few months. And whenever I use the word limitations, initially, really just a couple of weeks ago, I kind of thought that having to program MIDI guitar to write riffs and chord progressions and such would be a huge limiting factor. But after kind of really failing to write songs that I was really happy with the traditional way, I've decided to go with MIDI guitar to kind of get me out of this box. There are some people who can write brand new creative riffs pretty much every day, and I'm honestly very jealous of those people. But eventually I kind of realized that I was always reaching for the same positions on the neck, always hitting the same notes, kind of basically just writing the same riff, just in a different style over and over and over again. And what I've realized is that forcing myself to program the guitar through MIDI rather than just playing the same riffs I always play, I think it has serious potential to really improve my songs in the future. Not that it's doing that now. Right now I'm still not the best at it. So I am by no means going to sell all my guitars here in favor of just keeping this $100 MIDI instrument, but there have been a few really helpful ways that programming MIDI guitar and using some features inside of Ableton have helped me to write songs more effectively than I could do so really just with the ideas I have in my head. An issue I found with some of the riffs and songs I was writing was that while I liked them, they were a bit more complicated than what I was going for sometimes. You would think that would be an easy fix, you know, just write less complicated stuff, but I don't know how to say it any other way than the stuff I was trying to write was kind of just lame. And sometimes the stuff I was writing that was a little bit more complicated was lame. So I was in this weird middle ground of just not really being satisfied with either thing that I was making. Having to program the MIDI guitar has really made me slow down and be a little bit more intentional with the notes that I'm using and maybe the way it grooves, really just by itself or with other instruments. I've been programming more synths and stuff recently as well. So it's just made me be a little bit more intentional with the way I'm actually going about writing guitar. Another thing that's been really helpful about MIDI guitar in conjunction with Ableton, my theory knowledge is just as little as it can possibly be. And as soon as a guitar goes out of EADGBE, there goes my knowledge. Always been something that's really difficult for me is keeping metal guitar riffs and songs in a certain key. Just get better at music. It's kind of been a huge hindrance in trying to fit down sections of a song or choruses of a song with the main riffs I would use during the verse or breakdown or whatever. And using Axure and Ableton together has kind of completely gotten rid of this. And I'll show you later on the computer, but in Ableton you can really just pick whatever key you would like to write in and then just hit literally the word key on the piano roll, and those are the only notes that are available to you. So in a way you're also putting yourself in a box there, because I know some people are kind of bluesy and are capable of getting out of the key, but for me, I'm trying to write really straightforward, heavy songs that have potential for some earworms. It's kind of, it's just the thing right now. I want to be good at it, and I think MIDI guitar is going to help me. Okay, so here we are in Ableton, and we're going to take a look at a little project I've been working on recently. I have been watching a ton of Chris Beaton, I believe is how you say his last name, on YouTube recently. You've probably seen him in some Get Good Drums ads before, but he has his own YouTube channel and a Twitch channel where he streams. And this is how he writes pretty much exclusively, and he's writing some of the coolest music this way that I've heard. And he's got many great tips on programming MIDI guitar and really producing metal music with all MIDI. Let's take a look at this project. This is what I was saying earlier about Ableton's piano roll feature, is that I have my key set to D minor, is the scale that we're playing in. And there's this fold function. And you press fold, and those are only the notes that I'm using. And then there's this scale function. I thought it was key, but it's scale. There's a scale function, and it'll keep you in the scale. And looks like I've hit a D sharp minor there, so I don't know if I'm exactly in the scale of D minor but I thought the ARP sounded cool, so this is what the ARP sounds like by itself. Very cool. So here are my rhythm guitars, and I'm using a plug-in called Decent Sampler to run this Axure Guitar Midi processor. Here are the different key switches. I think I'm really, on this song, I'm only using the palm mute down and then the sustain downstroke. Those are really the only two I'm using. We'll listen to the guitars in stereo. So obviously we're not convincing anybody that that's a real guitar, but it doesn't sound too bad. And my guitars are going through Archetype, Gojira with, I thought I had the octave pedal on, but I do not. So let's listen to that synth intro going right into the verse, and I can tell you that this is not a choice that I ever would have made, just starting the verse out kind of groovy and down. I'm almost always going to go for like a 2019 Fit for a King riff. That's kind of just like my go-to. And this is groovy, simple. Maybe someone would want to listen to it who isn't really into metal. Let's listen to that real quick. Really simple pre-chorus right here. Lead guitar. That's how I've been using MIDI guitars to write. It's still very, very cut and dry, very simple at the moment, but I am hopeful that it's kind of laying the groundwork for me to write some groovier riffs and some more well thought out and put together songs, because that's what we want to do. We just want to make music, you know?